And welcome to the final screencast of the main causes of World War I. In this screencast, you will learn about a little bit more about the spark and how the spark led to the actual explosion of war. So first of all, the spark was caused, as you know, by the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Russia. Serbian terrorists, the name of the organization was the Black Hand, and they killed Archduke Franz Ferdinand. After this happened, Austria gave Serbia an ultimatum. An ultimatum is when you say to somebody, do this or else. And their ultimatum was a long list of things. They had to find the terrorists and bring them to justice. They had to allow Austrian troops to come into Serbia to help for the search. They had to do all of these things, and Serbia felt like they couldn't do these things because if they did so, they would lose their sovereignty or their ability to control their own country. They were worried about Austria because they knew it was an empire. They were worried about imperialism and them being attacked, and so Serbia said, we cannot do this. Now, the short fuse is the distance between when the spark was lit and there was an actual explosion. And to understand the short fuse, you first have to understand a few things about Russia. First of all, Russia was friendly with Serbia and felt like they were a big brother for Serbia. Both Russians and Serbians are of the ethnicity Slavic. So there's a term called pan-Slavism, which means you feel connected with other people who are Slavic. And so Russia saw that Austria-Hungary was really being pretty aggressive with their friend Serbia, and they were worried that Serbia was going to be attacked by Austria-Hungary, and Russia felt like they needed to protect Serbia. So Russia mobilized their troops. They didn't have any railroad system, and so in order to get their troops across the hundreds or sometimes thousands of miles from parts of Russia to the front lines on the border of Germany and on the border of Austria-Hungary, in order to help Serbia, they had to start moving their troops early. So Germany knew that this was happening, but unfortunately there was not good communication among the different leaders. They had a telegraph system, so you could write very short notes, and the Germans wrote to the Russians saying, why are you moving your troops? These are actually called the Nicky-Willy telegraphs because Nicky was the Tsar Nicholas of Russia, and he was cousins with Kaiser Wilhelm of Germany, and so they called each other Nicky and Willy in these telegraphs, and they're pretty funny actually because they have a very personal tone, like you would be writing to your cousin, but they're asking things like, why are you moving troops closer to our border? We think you're going to attack us. So the communication lines were poor. Germany felt like Russia was moving towards them in an aggressive stance and they were going to attack them. And then the third reason that the fuse was short is Germany had a war plan called the Schlieffen Plan, which you're going to learn more about in the next lesson. But the basic idea of it is that Germany had France to the west and Russia to the east, and they didn't want to have to split their troops and their supplies and fight basically two different wars on two different sides of their country. So Germany had a plan to attack France quickly in a preemptive attack before France attacked them, destroy France by getting all the way to Paris, and then still have enough time to use their railroad system to get all their troops and supplies across their country to the Eastern Front to fight Russia. But as soon as Russia started to move their troops, that window for the Schlieffen Plan to work closed pretty quickly because the closer that Russia got to the border, the less time Germany would have to fight France. And so Germany was faced with a choice of either attacking France and having a chance of avoiding a two-front war, or if they waited and waited, then France and Russia were going to attack them at the same exact time, and they would have to fight a two-front war. So Germany declared war. They decided they had to, and they had to attack, and that is how the short fuse led to an explosion of World War I. So to review, the short fuse, there were three reasons. Russia was pre-industrial, so they had to start moving their troops early in order to get them to the border in time. There was no good communication among the leaders, so Germany didn't really understand why Russia was moving to the border, and they felt like it was aggressive. And then finally, Germany had a plan to try to avoid the war on two fronts, and if they were going to use that plan, they had to attack sooner rather than later, so Germany decided to attack. And that is why the assassination of an archduke in Austria by Serbian terrorists led Russia to move their troops and eventually led to all-out war.